Hello and welcome to P3 Parkinson's Pedaling with Purpose. In this episode we're going to delve into reluctance and Parkinson's and what keeps you off a bike. Steve, what do you know about reluctance?
I know that reluctance is one of the most obnoxious symptoms that we have to deal with, and it really gets in the way of doing the things that we need to do to keep ourselves healthy and happy. We've talked with a couple of people about their experiences with reluctance, and we're going to look at that now and maybe talk about some things that they and we have done to overcome our reluctance and get back into the saddle.
So Steve, one of the common things we ran across when we were trying to recruit people for our team of rigid riders was time. They didn't have time.
Sure, it showed up as a number of ways. Didn't have time, they couldn't prioritize it for whatever reason. You know, here are some people talking about their experiences.
I think the root cause is that your own health and exercise is not a priority, because if it was the top priority, you would find time for it. So it's pretty much the last on my list, because I think that if I have this time slot and I'm in my on period, then I would better do some vacuum or water the plants or plan the dinner or do anything other than, if everything is done, then I would think that okay, maybe I can do some exercise. Me comes last.
Last year with my first season with the rigid riders, the concept of not having enough time. I'm currently working full time. I discovered, well, a couple of hours on a Sunday, not a heck of a lot. 2 hours to have a really pleasurable bike ride and discovering new parts of the city. That's stuff that you really can't buy with time or money. So for me, once I kind of got over that, and then the first couple of rides, and I discovered, wow, what an amazing city I have around me. All these hidden gems, like, boom, I can make the time. Finding 2 hours on a Sunday to discover gems in the city is totally worth it.
I think it's incorporating it as part of your lifestyle. It's just another level of decision making and that clarity.
Shivani brings up some good points. We had our priorities and we had our systems about how we were living our lives, and then we get this diagnosis, and this is a point where we really have to make some changes and make some accommodations, and frankly change our priorities so that we can better live happily and well with Parkinson's. And that brings to mind one thing. I remember well the conversation that I had with my family when I told them flatly that I have to become a little bit more selfish with my time and start including exercise even in priority to things that I used to prioritize.
You're a better man than me, because I couldn't go with my wife and tell her that.
Well, I didn't say it out loud.
One of the common things we ran across was fear, both real and imagined, of what would keep people off a bike. Can you think of any examples?
Sure, it showed up in a couple of different ways. There were some obvious ones, like people were concerned whether they had the stability and whether they were going to fall off a bike or not, and if they did fall, what was that going to mean? Also, people were worried about looking bad in front of their neighbors and friends.
At least with me, there's a component of being afraid of people seeing you running in the neighborhood. You're always concerned with the neighbors. What are they going to say? And one of the great things about cycling was you get out of the neighborhood. You explore different parts of Toronto and Durham region, and you're out and about and exercise and getting vitamin D and sun and camaraderie and all sorts of good stuff.
I'm from Holland, for everybody bikes, and I did like the idea that I needed training wheels or possibly a tricycle. I'm at the point now that I just want to be able to join you guys in the rides, and I'll do what it takes to do that. So I don't think it's anything to be embarrassed for, but you have a serious health problem. So if you can work with the problem, you'll be happier than if you don't.
We've always been there to hopefully help and encourage people to get over those hurdles. Peter, I remember meeting him in workouts. He's really come a long way.
Back in 2019, I actually fell off my bike and broke my collarbone. That was 6 weeks in a sling. So I didn't get on the bike the rest of 2019, but I promised I'd get on in 2020. I knew if I never got on again, I'd never do it. So frankly, who really helped the most was the rigid riders came over, reassured me they'd catch me if I fell. And the funny thing is, I got on my bike in the garage and they were right beside me, and I fell, but they didn't catch me. But then I realized that didn't hurt so bad. It's actually not as bad as I remember. And I got on the bike and started riding.
You know what? I've been afraid, and I think that you just have to sort of forge ahead. And one thing that you can do, there are many things you can do if you're afraid, but for sure, don't avoid cycling. I mean, there are just so many benefits, but if you're afraid, like we have a schoolyard near our house. And so, you know, at the beginning of the season, when I haven't been out and I don't have the confidence, I go to the track at the schoolyard and I go around. And then also I'll tell someone very nice, like Steve Eisman, that I'm afraid, you know, and he'll ride with me, and that will develop my confidence as well. So I think you've got to sort of push through that fear and just get out there, get on that bike, and there'll be people to help you.
Thank you, Susan. As I told you on that day, you're the brave one.
I fall all the time, so falling with my bike is no different.
Since that time, I've been riding all last year. I've probably fallen about 5 times, but now I know how to roll, tuck and roll.
I know myself that I've got problems with fear because when I got on the bike the first time when we started this, I fell into the bushes.
I too have experiences with fear. When Mike first got his shoes, I was afraid that he was going to fall on me, and he subsequently did. Mike, you know, one thing that we would hear from people is that when we would approach them to join the cycling team, they would say, I just don't want to. I just don't want to cycle, and I just don't want to get into an intense exercise. And I get it. You know, that we're asking them to make a change in their life, to incorporate exercise in a way that they hadn't up until this point.
I think whoever says that is going to feel a huge sense of accomplishment and pride when they kind of rise above that and go out there and do it, because hey, I don't really want to. What is it? You're sitting on the couch and you're comfortable then, but listen, there's a whole world out there, and if you get out there on your bike and you meet people and you see the world out there, there's nothing better as far as I'm concerned.
I don't want to do this because I've got something better to do. I'll have to be honest, you know, after a couple of rides with the rigid riders, I'm like going, that just kind of melted away. You're going to have the opportunity to interact with a whole bunch of different people that are similar to you, also different from you, because you might not have met them in real life. This gives you an opportunity to meet friends.
You want to know somebody who is dealing with their fears directly? Look at Karen.
I joked when I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. I heard that intense training was good for you. I thought it couldn't just be reading a book. Intense training. And exercise is not necessarily my passion, but it's sort of like medication. You have to do this. For me, it's really important to see the people that I'm fond of. John and Joey are really good in helping me, but they both love to exercise, so they get on my case to do more, and I appreciate that. But on the other hand, I sometimes want to hit them over the head and say, leave it alone. So you just have to sort of be strict with yourself and push yourself to do it.
I lost my wife about 4.5 years ago, and I gave up for all intents and purposes. I've got 2 kids and family and all that good stuff, but it's hard to factor that in. And the fact of the matter is, with depression and anxiety, and it's tough. It's a tough thing to navigate. And but one of the things that I find is really important is after cycling, I feel better.
I think the root cause of I don't want to is not accepting that you have Parkinson's. I found that for me, I was really mad, I was really upset, and I tried to blame everybody else. But then as I went along, I stopped getting angry. I started learning more and more, and everything you read says exercise, even if it's half an hour. Your exercise is in your hands. This crazy disease is going to change every year. It doesn't mean you're weaker, it doesn't mean you failed, but exercise, that's in your hands.
Michael, when I think of the rigid riders up and down that team, it was people who overcame their fear and made a decision to get in touch with us, get on the team, show up week after week for training, and then go and do their long ride with us. Brave, 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 every step of the way.
Isn't it nice to be able to develop a new skill, even when one is not young, like myself, and you learn something new, and you develop a new language, and you meet new people, and to me, it just, I don't buy it.
A common theme seems to be having a community or people to do it with. That's a big reason why we started the Rigid Riders, is to help encourage others to do it, get out there and socialize.
Sure. With motivation as a challenge already, we all know that we're more inclined to get things done if we can do them in the company of other people.
Just watching you guys do it, I mean, you yourself, you're a big motivating factor. And I like to take up challenges. So when I see that others are doing it, why not me? So that works very nicely.
If you saw yourself in any of those stories or those accounts, keep this in mind. The people that we've spoken to and dozens of others have all made the adjustment that they have to start fighting against the ravages of Parkinson's through intense exercise. You can too.